for my next pick, this one's going to hurt a lot because I remember it very vividly because I was in fifth grade at the time. The 2004 Yankees team. Every Yankees fan knows about the story, and I wish I could forget it, but I can't because the players on this team were really goddamn good. And man, they were there 3-0, and they lose to the Red Sox in the CS, four consecutive losses. That was painful because there was a girl in my class who we were up 3-1, and I was a little cocky SOB, and I was like, "We're the best in the world," blah blah blah. And then she comes out with like, "Oh, just watch, the Red Sox are going to win it all." And she would say it every day in science class, and I'd be like, "You got to shut up, got to stop talking that shit." And she never did because they fucking won, and then they won it all. But if you look at this roster, man, you've got Jorge Posada once again holding it down, 272 average, 8081 OPS. He's so good. He was so good. Tony Clark was still on the team, which is crazy to think about. He feels like he's like 70 now. Miguel Cairo was a guy that I
Wow.
always enjoyed watching. I actually got to see him play in spring training in 03, I want to say. Derek Jeter, of course, 292. It was a downish season for him, but still 823 OPS. A-Rod kind of back to his form, 36 homers, 106 bombs. Hideki Matsui, 31 homers, 108 bombs, and just a great 912 OPS to round that out. Bernie, once again, still holding it down. Gary Sheffield is a fun one, 36 homers, 121 RBIs.
A monster.
At 35 years old,
927
too.
OPS, 35 years old. I was so excited about that deal because they also got Randy Johnson. So there was just so many, like, you can kind of tell, like, veterans that were almost towards the end of their rope but still hanging in there. That's kind of what the vibe that team gave off. So completely opposite of like 2017 for the most part. Or yeah, just any of those teams, 2017, 2009. It was a different feel altogether just because they had a bunch of like former superstars playing together.
You want to
Um,
talk about, oh, sorry, go for it.
no, go ahead.
You want to talk about a narrative shift. Um, when I have a neighbor across the street, she used to work for the Daily News, and she knew I was a big Yankees fan, and she would get me all like the special edition papers, especially down the stretch when the old stadium was closing. And 2004 was the first postseason that I remember somewhat watching. I was like 5 or 6, so it was still hazy. But I watched that ALCS, and that was devastating, devastatingly painful. I got a photo from her a few years later of Alex Rodriguez hitting a third or fourth inning home run in Game 4 to put the Yankees up 2-0. And A-Rod had a really good first 3 games of that ALCS, and how different his narrative was for 5 years after, because that was his first season with the Yankees. A-Rod could have been a postseason hero if we win that game, and he did nothing wrong to lose that Game 4. But between us sweeping and us losing that game in 7, and credit to your friend or classmate, that delusional Red Sox mindset, that was something else back then. But they just had that blind, nothing to lose kind of belief that got them through. It's crazy to think how differently that changes A-Rod's legacy, how much it bridges, the 4 and 5 World Series to the 09 World Series, and we really have this 20 years of almost like Tom Brady like dominance of this Yankees team with Jeter, with Bernie Williams. Maybe he gets more credit. What could have been, and everyone knew. They always talk about it. The winner of the ALCS won the World Series that year. They knew that's what they were playing for.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, whoever was in the NL had no shot against the juggernauts of what was the Red Sox and the Yankees back then. I mean, those Red Sox teams were stacked too. I always say Manny Ramirez is probably the smoothest has the smoothest right-handed swing I've ever seen in my life. I was terrified of that guy whenever he came to the plate. Now, for me, Liam, you said you remember that '04 year a little bit. I really don't remember it too much as a kid. The first Yankee team I fell in love with was back in '06. So the '04 team, while it doesn't bother me, looking back at it sometimes, but I've heard from so many Yankee fans that were around in their 20s back then say that was probably the darkest time as a Yankee fan after that loss in Game 7. It
Yeah.
was just it was dark. It was dark because the game was over. Game 7 was over before it really even started. So I could only imagine. I'm just happy that I wasn't, you know, in the right frame of mind to remember that because my little ass would have been in pouring tears.
Oh, my cognition is completely screwed because of that. I mean, also if you look at the pitching real quick, it's just like their number one was Javier Vasquez. 14 and 10 with a 4.91 ERA. Like, just not if they put out a remotely competitive pitching lineup, like this team probably wins that series 9 times out of 10.
Mhm.
If they had Andy Pettit there, I think they win that series.
I think Mike Messina was on that rotation too.
It was their 3, yeah, but that was a
He had a
down.
down year.
And
Messina was probably their operational one, but he didn't perform like it.
yeah, their best pitcher was El Duque, and he had 15 games under his belt with a 3.3 ERA. So like he didn't even play a full season.
Yeah.
I think this gives insight to Jake's character that this is his 4th overall pick, second over, at least his mindset about the Yankees, just the straight up worst heartbreak in Yankees history.
What a masochist.
And to his credit, they were a great team. They were an incredible team
Man,
that deserved better. But they got beat.
they did.